Good morning. I'm Vilma Charlton, co-author of the book Jamaican Gold, Jamaican Sprinters.
Yes, we have a few questions. I'm sure you have some too for Vilma this morning. My first question would be the book, Jamaica Gold. Why the name Jamaica Gold when all of the book speaks to why is it that Jamaicans run so fast?
Well, that's an interesting question. Initially, that was the topic. Why Jamaicans run so fast? That was a question that had been asked over the years from the 40s. People kept wondering what it is that makes Jamaican athletes run so fast. And that was what we started out with, but apparently if you're not in the book industry, one does not understand what topics can grab people who are seeking to buy books. So it was changed.
I'm particularly interested in those early years when we won our first gold medal in 1948, going on to when we set the world record in 1952. Because men like Arthur Wint and Herb McKinley came out of a Jamaica at that time that was that had a vision, that was looking at a vision of a Marcus Garvey, who was at that time asking black people, black Jamaicans, to really get to know their potentials and to work as hard as they could to be the best that they can. It's not about racism, but being the best, but bringing out the best in blackness. Anything on that? Why you started the book in that way? We're in Black History Month. Any?
Well, it's interesting that we really started this history in terms of track and field in the 1940s. Can you imagine the first Olympic Games that we went to in 1948? And very many Jamaicans don't realize that our history began there. Yes, Herb McKinley, the greatest of all time, he didn't get his gold medal then. He got silver medals. But the other teammates were contending with the Americans as usual. And that's another thing. Our history rival in USA started from 48. And so we had two Jamaicans who won medals, silver and gold medals, in 48. The relay was also a success, not in the first Olympic Games, but in 1952. But if we did not have that injury with Herb McKinley, Roden was the person who got injured in 1948, we would have won that relay.
Vilma, I want to bring you back to the ladies. What about our first female Olympian? You mentioned her in the book. You spoke to her as well.
Dr. Cynthia Thompson. And guess what? She's 91 years old and she's still alive.
And strong.
And strong. And we drag her everywhere as much as possible. 2 weeks ago, she went to the Veer Technical High School, who I'm sure many persons don't know about Veer Technical High School. They have over 50 Olympians and World Championship athletes coming out of that school. So I'm sure it's in the book of records.
But you also said that she set a world record.
Yes, she did set a world record in the 200 meters in the heats going into the semifinals. And many of her teammates, Phillips, they also did very well in their events, a long jump, setting records in the heats, and then it was broken in the semifinals and so on.
I want to take you to a statement in the introduction. The phenomenal success of Jamaicans in sprint events is bewildering to many. Now, could you just give us some of the different, I think every chapter in the book gave us a reason for this.
Yes, first of all, this study started in 2007 into 08. And we were so happy when this professor from Scotland, Dr. Yanis Spitsiladis, he's a research fellow. He came and he said he would love to study why is it Jamaicans run so fast. And we thought it was a good idea because jokingly the athletes, when asked, would just joke about it and say, oh, it's the foods, it's the yams, it's the sky juice, it's the bun and cheese. But here came a young person from Scotland and he was willing to study it. And so we jumped at the opportunity to study it, and it was interesting. We just knew that it was genes, because the professor hinted that he felt that it had to be in our genes, which we also used to say, it's in our genes. But interestingly, when we took the samples and they were evaluated, we found out that the entire Jamaica had this sprint gene in them, which is a protein that you need for sprinting. And 98% of Jamaicans had this sprint gene.
Yes, but they didn't just leave it to the genes. There is another thing about the yam, that most of the yam we have come from West Africa, and there's some component in that helps us along.
Well, after this study, we realized that it was not the genes, because if 98% of our population have this sprint genes, then we really ought to be putting out twice the amount of athletes that we are now. So we have decided that it's a combination of things. The foods that we eat, the personality of our Jamaican people. We are just a peculiar set of people, and anything we set out to do, we just want to be on top, no matter what it is.
Back again to Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey, through Eloise Park, he tried to make us, he made us know that for entertainment should not be just entertainment for entertainment, but it should be organized. And entertainment here now, I look at sports and culture. Okay. And so I want to speak to the boys' champs. That organization, that thing that brings people from all over the world to wonder, how is it that we, as a small country, can put this on?
Boys and Girls Championships is an event that's held every March, depending on when Easter is, but it's usually in March or March to April. And it's a junior track and field event that's best in the world. There's no other country that can boast about this event. It brings together all the high schools. It started with 10 high schools first, and it grew to 50, maybe 15 years ago, and now we're up to 100, over 100. And so this is a 4-day festival where the boys and girls compete. Initially, it started out with boys separate and then girls. But the girls who used to do so well didn't get the audience that the boys did. In fact, the girls were to be blamed because they would not come to the girls' champs, but rather to the boys. And so it's a big thing now, now that it is merged. And people from all over, France, Sweden, USA, they don't miss it. And we feel that that's our springboard for all the successes that we have been having.
Yes. Can we expect another book? Because this conversation as to why we run so fast has really just begun. And you have given us a lot of ideas, but it has also given us more questions.
Yes. And as if you look in the book, you will find that other authors have said, okay, it's the yams. There's the Dr. Agri Aarons, he's a psychiatrist.
Oh, yes.
He says, Jamaicans run for everything. School bell ring, you run. You're late for school, you run so that teacher will not beat you. If you send them to the shop, they run. In everything that we do. And, you know, after I read that article, I started to watch our children. And it is true. When school is let out, they run on the roads. It's amazing that we don't have more accidents. They're always running. They're always thumping on the bus shed. Yes. They're just very, very active.
Yes, the late Herb McKinley told the story that they sent him to music. They wanted him to be a musician. Mm-hmm. So he had to do his games along the way, and then he had to make up the time and with running to get to the music. So I think all of the people. There's also another, I want to take it from McKinley to Bolt. The Trelawney Maroons claim Bolt and speak to the whole West African ancestry in his genes.
Well, as you know, one of our national heroes, Nanny, she came from Trelawney, from that cockpit country. And the history speaks about Nanny, who was so fast that when she saw the enemies coming, she would run around those winding roads as if it were straight. As soon as they got sight of her, she was missing in action. And this study showed that most of our top Olympians come out of the cockpit area.
Veronica Campbell-Brown.
And even if they were not born in, let's say, St. James,
Lennox Miller,
Clarendon, and so on.
Miller.
Even if they weren't born there, their grandparents were born there. Because Lennox Miller, Jackie Pusey, she was born in St. Mary, but her parents came from Hanover. You see? So, and as you know, in genealogy study, they always go back to the parents and grandparents.
Yes. So we have really had quite a number of things that has made us run so fast.
And don't forget about our personality, like I hinted it to before. We are just a peculiar set of people. Even in our region, they find us different. And it's hard to tell you exactly why we are different, but we are different.
Netaford says that we are just great performers. We perform well, we try to do the best at everything, and I think athletics give us that space for showmanship.
Yes, and in the other arts too, in the cultural areas, the drama, the music, for example. Look at Bob Marley, his music is world-renowned, and he had a message that he sung about from the 60s, and it is still reigning. His messages are still reigning.
And I noticed that the championships have now going on a double with the music. When you get there, that is the teaser to start up the... Because they also speak to the fact that someone like Bolt, it's not only about his speed, but his natural rhythm.
Yes.
His body rhythm that allows him to do it with such ease.
And because he is so easygoing and he's a comedian at heart, then it naturally relaxes him to do the best he can. He is a phenomenon, and we probably won't see somebody like Bolt in the next 50 years. And I would say Herb was one of those persons. Herb was, a similar kind of situation. He was just great. Never trained hard. I think Bolt is a little worse, though. I mean, he trains, but if he has to, he now knows he has to. But he has a talent abounding.
Another thing that this book speaks to is the fact that track and field, it has been seen by us as one of those things to take us beyond the poverty line. And the dedication that is shown from people like Cynthia Thompson, Dr. Cynthia Thompson, who took a boat for 3 weeks, went to London, her clothes was wet, her spikes was wet, got a cold, lost weight, but still went out there and did the best that she could.
Yes.
To the kids are champs now.
Exactly.
People don't realize how hard
it shows
they work. Yes.
Indomitable spirits, the spirit that we have. And we will die, and probably literally we will die on the track, because just last weekend we lost an athlete who maybe 20 meters from the line, his PE teacher, one of the managers that went with him to Tobago, said, run, Kavan, run, and he picked up speed and ran and finished that race. Unfortunately, he passed on, but I'm not saying it's because he ran fast at the end. He could have had some medical history before. But
we have to respect the dedication.
Yes.
Because so often we speak that our young people are not dedicated or committed. Mm-hmm. But track and field, as you have it in that here, is really one of those areas where we can see that commitment.
Yes, and I think the commitment started with our physical education teachers, who over the years were battered and beaten down because the schools, maybe the Ministry of Education, to a larger extent, they didn't see the importance of play. They didn't see the importance of the arts, the physical education, the music, the drama, the home economics. Those are the areas that they would cut out first if they had no money. No, it's the reverse. They realize that students must play. Well, children, once babies are born, they have to play. The first thing they do when they come out anyway, out of a mother's womb, is to cry and start kicking. So it is a natural movement that they do. But our physical education teachers, although they have been battered over the years, they have always stuck to the task. And especially those of us who studied abroad, we know that physical education is important. And thankfully now, it's a CSEC subject, which is an exam that students can take at the fifth form level.
This book also, in a way, spoke to the volunteers in this country. We just had such a cadre of volunteers that I don't know that could have been beaten anywhere in the world, and that is because without the resources, the financial resources. It's the volunteers. Any,
Yeah, I think track and field has the largest number of volunteers because in any event that is put on in track and field, you need a minimum of 100 volunteers. And we want to thank them very much. We want to thank them wholeheartedly for volunteering their time. Many of them are out of poverty. They might have had a relative who got a scholarship, and they know that they are doing this for the good of track and field and also to help the students benefit so that they can get scholarships to go out, to either stay here in Jamaica or go off and receive a scholarship so that they can better their family members. And this is another reason why I think our athletes run. They want better for themselves. Many of them come out of poverty. And with this in mind, knowing that they can run, get a scholarship, get a degree overseas and work, a number of them are better off now because of track and field.
Let's take us to the business of sports business, which is also one of the chapters in the book. We didn't come out of that area of sports as a business, but it's taking on now. What's your
It's taking
take
on
that?
now, but it is still slow. I believe that Jamaicans generally are not business people, and I think that's why it's taken us so long. Not like the Chinese, who they see the business element in it from the beginning. And even the American blacks, they marvel when they come to Boys and Girls Jams. First of all, they say, so what do you do with the people when they're waiting to leave the stadium? It's going to take us, let's say, 1 hour to get out. This was a young man who came to Jamaica from one of the universities abroad. He was trying to link up with us. He says, we should have some entertainment by the swimming pool area, or we should have something else for them to do rather than sitting in the stands waiting to go. That's the business element. Or we should have some shops set up to market our products, and including the book, or the gear of the different high schools, so that they can shop around instead of waiting in line to get out of the stadium compound. So it is getting off, thanks to Carol Beckford. She is trying her best to market sport and tourism, and we hope that before